marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things small business. You're listening to the Jurassic Marketing's Triceratops. Now, here's your host, Justin Miller.
All right, we are back with the podcast. We took a little left turn there last week and gave you some workshop clippets from our direct mail boot camp, which we do have another one coming up in, I think it's October. It's either September or October. That will be an in-person one, location TBD. But give it a listen. I talk a little bit about why direct mail is still working in 2026 and a little about what I see in the future here going forward, because it's always changing. The post office makes sure of that for us. But enough about last week's episode. This week and this month, we are back to guests, which is what you all like to hear. We go from, -5 viewers an episode to a lot of downloads.
People want to hear somebody other than you and I talk.
And I'm not offended by that.
No.
If you want to be a guest on a future episode, reach out. We have a schedule link for you, as long as it fits into kind of what we do. So there's probably some things that don't.
That's possible, yeah.
It's not a political show. We're
No.
limited to 15 seconds of that per episode. All right, but today we have a guest who's been waiting in the wings while we solve some technical issues. So if y'all ever were curious about whether or not this is recorded live, it is. But we cut out a few minutes of tech issues today, which is abnormal for us. All right, guest today, we have Zack Port. He's from Betts & Port. He is a personal injury attorney, runs a personal injury firm. And we are going to talk a little about that and a lot about that business and how it works and the marketing side and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that you really wouldn't be privy to. So undoubtedly, I'm sure you can think of the billboard advertisers
Sure.
in our area.
Yep. Yeah.
They got the buses and the billboards everywhere. And yes, that's part of the game, but most of the clients we work with, that they're not trying to dominate that space.
Mm.
They have the same game as far as, having the mind share at the right time for the need. And Zach's going to help us with that. He's going to fill in some gaps. So, Zach, thank you for joining us and making sure it's not just me and Kevin talking here again.
Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here. Obviously, I wanted to talk to you guys because your philosophy is really unique when it comes to personal injury, because you do see so many billboards, and I'm happy to talk more about that. I've never done a billboard. You won't see my face on a billboard, but I love I love the relational side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can have the digital billboard now with it moving.
True.
So for those outside the space, so I'm familiar with the space, but I don't think every listener will be. So kind of set the stage for, the core deliverables, because some people, if they haven't ever had the need, a lot of people think attorney is an attorney, which is far from the case. So set the stage for the services you provide and who you serve.
Essentially, I help people after they're injured because of someone else's fault. So if you get in a car crash, that's the obvious one. You get rear-ended. You need someone to talk to the insurance company for you. That's the kind of the bread and butter. But then after that, you've got dog bites, you've got, construction site accidents, you've got playground injuries, motorcycle crashes. I mean, it really is anything where you get injured because it's somebody else's fault. So my ideal client is just going to be someone that is trying to navigate that, needs help walking through the complexities of an injury, finding treatment and everything. And I help navigate that and talk to the insurance companies for them.
So are you saying that might be complex, or the insurance adjuster might not be your friend after all?
It might be. I mean, at the front end of the case, you've got examples of certain insurance companies that are saying, here's $1,000, sign this release and you're done. And a lot of people sign those and then they come talk to an attorney and say, wait, maybe I shouldn't have signed that. I'm still hurting.
Yeah, too little, too late at that point.
You and I have both been there.
I've been through this process a couple of times. Yeah,
I have as well. And it's funny. I've been through it 3 times, and just what he just said. That first time, I was like, "Oh, you're going to give me what to go away? All right, $3,000 plus you fix my car." Then the second time, I'm like, "Wait a minute. Last time I was hurting."
I mean, it might be fair, but probably not, or they'd offer 0. Would be, I guess.
Yeah, no. But the very last one got to the point where the gentleman that hit me had been drinking and wasn't insured. And my insurance company at one point said, this is all we can give you because you either sue him or this is it. And it turns out the guy it was on the Navajo Indian reservation in Arizona. So he wasn't, it was like, it's like American land, but it's that like their own sovereign nation, and they just like closed ranks, couldn't get anything done. So my insurance company settled it, and I was like, well, at like a year and a half later, I'm like, I'll just take $30,000 and go away.
I think you might have made that more complex than it needed to be.
Jeez,
but,
it's crazy.
That's the way it gets, right?
I know that's probably the thing though, right? It becomes a situation where it just gets in so deep and people's emotions get involved.
Yeah, and the emotions lead to people wanting to get it done earlier. And the earliest you can really resolve a case like this is you got to wait till you're done treating and you're at least done healing, and that's usually a year out. And then if you got to litigate it, that adds another year, 2, 3 years, depending on how complex it is. So if you're feeling like I want to get done with this right away, then you're gonna be more open to resolving for a lesser amount.
And they know that.
Yeah, I mean that's why they're friendly at first, right?
They continue to be friendly.
Well, yeah, because they know if they can just make you feel good.
I mean, as an aside, we will get into our main topic, but as an aside, I had one that drug out a year and a half because it was chiropractic treatment only. It wasn't like major. And the chiropractor didn't have records.
What?
Like there was a file somewhere, but like he couldn't produce it on demand.
Yeah.
And I tried to get his license taken away, but anyhow, I digress. Yeah. Didn't happen, but we did get it settled eventually. It makes it pretty hard to prove a case, though. All right, let's talk about the marketing side of this, because this is one of those unique circumstances where, I don't need your service until I need it. So that makes me a little hard to market to. So talk through your philosophy on that first. Like how in a market that is event-driven by something outside of their control, you pop up at the right time.
Well, like you said, it is a top of mind marketing strategy for most big firms that are spending a lot of money. So you drive down the road, you see the billboard, and then, the next day you get in a crash, you remember that billboard and you sign it up, or TV or whatever it is. Our cases are entirely referral based. So it's a third doctors and chiropractors, a third past clients, and a third other attorneys. So what we have is someone gets in a crash, gets injured in some way, and they ask their friend, or they ask their family attorney that does wills and estates, or they ask their doctor, who do you recommend? And they'll give them our information. We've started doing a little bit more direct reach out with some direct mail for chiropractors and providers specifically to try to build that. But generally, it's just going to be, I got in a crash, I'm going to ask the people I trust, and those people that I trust are the people that are going to refer me to Zack Port.
That's interesting, because we just talked about this, not when it comes to personal injury law, but other services, is that we have direct mail campaigns only built around this, and it's what people typically ignore is you build up your network over time. Yeah, Zach, if you're good at what you do over the course of 10 or 20 years, you will build up a solid enough referral network, but there's certainly things you can do to accelerate that. So I'm curious if you've done, proactive outreach to those people, or if it's just the natural progression of those relationships.
So it was historically just the natural progression. As we've been growing, so just a little history of the firm is that it was a solo practice for my law partner, Jim Betts, from 2001 to 2022. I joined up with him in 22 and we branded it Betts and Port, and we've been growing it, which again has the philosophy that's the same, which is the relationships building, keep the referral relationships alive. Just about 8 months ago, we used you guys to send these direct mail brochures, which allowed us to get the kind of some relationships built with chiropractors in particular. And we're trying to put some fuel on it to get some movement forward for us. And that's resulted in a lot of great lunches and different meetings with people to build referral relationships.
How much do you think you have to nurture those relationships? Is it as it happens, or are you constantly thinking we need to nurture as many of those relationships as we can because you're right. Like he said, you don't need you till you need you, till I'm injured.
Right. You definitely have tiers of referral relationships. You've got people that, my partner's known for 30 years. That person's not referring anything to anyone else ever. That's solid. And you'll probably naturally run into them. Some of these new budding referral relationships, I give them my cell phone. I text them. I say, "Hi, how's it going?" If it's a chiropractor, they're usually sending me a patient. So they have a patient and I have a client that we're sharing, and we'll talk about it. Hey, are you getting paid from the insurance side? Anything I can do to help on that? and I'll just text them. And I mean, main referral relationships, you want to get a lunch with them. Everyone's got to eat, get a lunch with them every few months and see them. And that's the best part. Not everybody likes that. I enjoy that. My philosophy is, if I don't have 2 lunches a week with somebody, I'm doing something wrong. I get to eat. Sometimes they pay for it too, which isn't bad.
Yeah, that's like me avoiding networking events. I can do
Yeah.
one-on-one though.
Yeah, exactly.
We can do clear outcome, clear agenda.
Yeah.
I got that. Yeah, it's in a lot of these, and you mentioned it, like there's established referral relationships already, or there's a personal friend that they refer to. And we've found that depending upon the value of earning your way in that relationship, it can be worth it to just hang out in the wings until that person screwed up. And sometimes that can be years, and we'll use like newsletters or other things to help remind them. And honestly, it's outside of our control, but we're waiting on either they were too busy, they couldn't take the phone call in time, they screwed up, they said something wrong. And that doesn't earn you the case, but it can open the door for that relationship. But yeah, if they don't have that established, it's much easier.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about building trust. So, this is completely trust based. It's not like if we have a referring chiropractor. It's not like necessarily they were your client previous. Like that doesn't necessarily exist. So they don't have firsthand experience with your service and outcome. So talk about building trust when they're not actually consuming the service. They're not getting the direct benefit from it.
Are you talking about before they sign up or
Yeah.
after they sign up?
Now, before the case is in.
Before the case is in, I mean, for us, this is brand new territory, and so we're learning as we go and kind of building the plane as it flies. But I would say that big part of building trust, we've got the social media, we've got the website, we've got the newsletter has been a main thing for us, where each time we meet a referral relationship or something, add them to the newsletter monthly, going out, just, hey, this is what's going on in the firm. And I think a lot of that comes from not sharing, hey, here's a newsletter about how to handle your slip and fall case, which is good. It's good information and it's authoritative and whatever. But what people really like to hear from us is, hey, we're hiring this person. We're doing this. We're having a scholarship for a law student that's going to law school next year. Things like that are momentum building for the firm, so that if there's a possible referral partner, they can think about Betts and Port and say, okay, these people are going places. I haven't worked with them before, but I like the direction that I see, and I'm willing to give them a try at least.
Yeah. And talk a little about where that stacks up versus your traditional advertising, your billboards and your TV and your radio, because you've made a deliberate choice not to do that.
Yeah.
And are you,
Well, no, I
are
was
you
gonna
laughing because you worked in radio? And
No. I was because
it's a leading question.
No, I think about every time I'm in a big city. Like my question is, why are so many attorneys? They've got the hammer, and we're gonna, it's like, I mean, these attorneys that like we've won $47 billion in cases for your friends. Why do so many of them do those like ridiculous where they've got the hammer and all the other stuff?
I mean, the short answer is that it works for probably about 50% of the population. There's a certain part of the population that's going to drive by a billboard and say, yeah, I'll give them a call. They seem legit. And advertising in that style lends a certain authority that a small firm may not have. But the reason that we've chosen to do it is because I think people get more excited about building and growing with a firm and trusting people in the long term. The hammer and all this stuff, it must work for some people, but that's not my niche. My niche is going to be people that are a little bit more toned down, maybe, and willing to
Zack the
engage
Crusher.
in the conversation.
You could always get into wrestling. You could be a wrestler if you had to. I mean, then after that,
it's a great jump over, I'm sure.
I mean, sometimes, Kevin, they just want to see themselves on the billboard.
Well,
so,
that is, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's lots of traditional media sold on ego.
True.
And the game does work, but it does require a substantial budget, a higher marketing budget than most firms that we work with are doing. And it works in other industries as well. But We even have the parallel equivalent in direct mail. Obviously, list selection and who you mail to is huge on the impact of success. And we will have people that target their neighborhood just because they want to get their own letter.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
because they want to see themselves.
I'm like, they're win $500, but
Well, I mean,
if it was worth $500 to them, who am I to judge? I guess. But we do point out it's not a great
I also
idea.
wonder if it's like it's a fear thing that when you see a guy with a giant hammer or whatever he's talking about. I mean, it's the fear of losing. Like, I might not get my full amount of money if I don't hire this slick guy to go to bat for me, and he's going to beat down the other company. Versus like what you're talking about, Zach, where it's just we want to have trust. I trust that you're going to take care of me and get my needs handled. That appeals to me too, but I can see where obviously it works because you see them in every city that you ever go to. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, maybe you have a certain type of person that is interested in the Barracuda lawyer that wants someone that's aggressive and is going to hammer him down. A lot of people, though, when they get involved in a crash, they are thinking about that other person that hit them. They're mad. They'll be mad about it. Yeah, it's the other person's fault, but they're not thinking, I want to destroy this person's life, because they're just thinking about, how do I make sure that my future is safe and secure? Even if this person did something wrong, I don't want to ruin their life. Where the people that are hiring the Barracuda hammer, maybe they want that more. I couldn't say for sure.
I do have a core belief that most people are good at the core, but you are right. There are some that know instantly that that's a payday and it's coming. Yep. And they try and maximize it. Please don't sign up for services here. All right, in the remaining time, let's shift a little bit away from marketing and towards teams, because I know that you said you have a remote staff, a lot of remote staff, which a lot of companies obviously were forced to do around 2020 and pivot there. But one of the challenges for a lot of them is, okay, how do I make this still feel like a caring, small business, trusting environment? So tell me how you've navigated that a little bit.
Yeah. Relationship is a lot different in 2026 than it was in the past, where I can have my team down in Colombia that call a client, speak to them in Spanish or English, and make them feel like they're in St. Paul, in Minnesota, that they're right here. You don't have to do the in-person meetings with attorneys anymore, drive down to the downtown office with the fancy thing. We don't even have that. So part of the culture has been allowed by the changes in demographics and what people are interested in. But in terms of building culture, I mean, like I said, building and playing a bit as we flew it. We tried out hiring virtual assistants, which is our Columbia team. But we also decided to move from a brick and mortar, which was in the north suburbs of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, to basically a co-working situation where we can go in if we want to, but we work from home. I've got 2 little ones. I've got one on the way. We wanted that space, and we were trying to build a business that worked for my wife and I. But it was kind of figuring out as we go. And we took a lot, not from law firms, because law firms are like, 10, 15 years behind everyone else. We took it a lot from other businesses that we were looking at and wanting to be like. And then it's just structure, right? So we do daily huddles every morning, 8:15 for 15 minutes, just check in. We do a lot of different things to try to create and nurture that culture amidst the team.
Yeah, so you've created kind of the same space that, business owners like, but somehow have maintained the meeting rhythm and everything that would be typical of in person. So I don't think that should be understated that that's not naturally occurring. It's very intentional. It's very easy for business owners to deal with anyone remote as a cog, and not an accounting cog, like a cog in a machine, just a gear. Real quick, you mentioned early on in your career that you had the problem that a lot of entrepreneurs have, which is too many hats, sitting in too many seats on the org chart. So tell me how that, either came to a head or how that evolved over time.
Yeah. So when I started, when I was in law school, I thought I was going to do criminal, and I worked for the prosecutor's office as well for the public defense. So I was thinking government work, not entrepreneurial at all, right? So when I graduated and started the firm with Jim, it was, okay, you're going to learn how to be a lawyer for the first time. You're going to learn how to run a business. You're going to learn how to manage people all within the same time. Because my partner, he hates management. So he's like, you got it. So I took over the hiring, firing, managing, all that stuff. day to day. And yeah, I mean, it's been, first of all, learning how to put on the hat, learning how to do it well, and then one by one taking them off. And each of our hire has been very, here's very clearly the things you're taking away from Zach, essentially. For example, we have, an office manager that's starting next month. I hate running payroll. She's going to take over payroll. And it was just one at a time. One, I had to learn it and then decide to take it off. And it's been a process.
Yeah, and it continually evolving, I imagine, too. I know our org chart shifts. Even if it's people in multiple seats, it's continually shifting. All right, we're going to do the lightning round. Kevin, we don't have the sound effect you promised last episode.
Well, we have a lot of things missing today, but
we got this.
I'll overdub it.
All right, lightning round. Yeah, you won't. I'm not, because I'm going to keep talking and you won't be able to cut it out.
There you go.
All right, Zach, you ready for lightning round? Same questions we give all the guests here, as long as we remember them all. So, best business book.
So this is probably not a new one, but Traction by Gino Wickman. We follow EOS, so that's the one that we use and the one I recommend the most.
All right, and for our listeners, next week we have an EOS implementer on, so perfect. Tool you can't live without.
This is specific to personal injury, so not that helpful for others, but it's called Eve. It's a closed loop AI that allows us to read all the records and the deposition transcripts and everything and make decisions off it. It's private, but it's just been amazing for us and working faster. And we talk about it like it's a member of the team.
Valuable.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a parallel product in other industries too, as AI keeps rolling out. Favorite quote or motto?
I didn't have one. I'm sorry.
That's
bad
what
at it.
That's what would happen if you gave me that one too. So I just enjoy being on this side and asking the questions.
Exactly.
All right. Here's a good one. Something people would be surprised when they learn it about you.
I joke, but I'm the worst bass player at my church. So I play the least, and and let's be clear, like the bass is not the hardest instrument. So yeah, I'm the worst at it, but I love playing. And whenever I get the chance to play, you can play every genre with a bass. So it's fun.
There you go. If you were the only one, you could also be the best. All right.
Yes.
All right. If people want to learn more either about your services or want to continue the conversation with you as a business owner, best way to reach out or contact you?
Really, the best way is LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn nerd. I post there all the time about my business, about what it's like to be a PI attorney and run a small business and everything. So just follow me, Zack Port, on LinkedIn. We have Instagram and all that stuff, but that's the main way.
All right. If you go to the other ones, it's going to look like he's there, but he's not. That's what happens if you have non-preferred links.
Exactly.
All right, Zach, thank you for being a guest on this episode. Coming up on our next episode, we aren't going to share her name yet, but we are talking EOS. So if you've read Traction like Zach mentioned, or you're curious what that's about and you've kind of heard of either EOS or Gino Wickman, make sure to tune in next week. Please subscribe, share, like. We got to get the word out about this. We got to keep growing for our own egos. We keep them in check, but we do like to see the like button. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening to the Triceratops podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments. For more information on how Jurassic Marketing Direct Mail can help grow your business, visit JurassicMarketing.com.